Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 6 weeks to your dream job workshop. Let's get right in it, right to it. I'm Scott Barlow of Happen to Your Career. And let me tell you a little bit about what we're going to cover right here. Here's my promise to you. We're going to talk about figuring out what you want. And specifically, we're going to focus on what companies you want to work with. We're going to talk about finding the hidden jobs nobody else knows about by using some easy to do principles that'll probably surprise you as to why on earth they work. And then we're going to talk about the unfair advantage of negotiating your salary and specifically what to say and what to do once you have that job offer. Now, all of these lessons are straight out of our 6 weeks to dream job online class. But first, I want to check in and make sure that everybody can hear me. You can sign in to Livefire. All you have to do is click on the sign in link, and it'll allow you to link up with either Facebook or Google or a couple other services and sign right in. Okay, good. Let's get going here. Now, who is this workshop for? If you're in a good job, but you just can't see doing it forever and being there, for a really extended period of time, then this workshop is for you. If you hate your job and you just absolutely cannot wait to get out, then this workshop's probably for you. You've found the right place. If you're not 100% sure of what it is that you want to do, then also this workshop's for you. And if you're not sure exactly what type of company or what companies you want to work with, this workshop is definitely for you. Or if you want to make a career change and you're just absolutely not sure where to begin and not sure which steps to take and not sure what's going to be most efficient, then this workshop is absolutely for you. So I want to tell you a little bit about what led me up to this workshop here. 10 years ago this month, I got married to my high school sweetheart, and I sold a business that I had in college and took my first professional job because apparently that's what you're supposed to do when you get married for some reason, or so I was told. And I found out that after I got into that role, I didn't like it very much. And it wasn't that it was a bad job. It paid well, and all my friends and family thought that it was great from the outside looking in, but I knew that I didn't want to do it forever. So 1 year into the job, I got brave enough to convince myself that this was the wrong job for me. It wasn't cutting it. I didn't want to be there. And I didn't want to be dishonest with my boss. And I told him that I was having second thoughts. And apparently he was too, because 3 weeks later, he fired me. And who's been in that place, first of all? Anybody, you've probably been in that place. Almost everybody has, where you've been in a job that you didn't like and you get that feeling. And if you've been there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That sort of pit in your stomach and that rumbling, and when you think about having to go in the next day. And that's where I was right before I got fired. Now, I had to make a transition. So I took my tiny bit of experience in sales and marketing and started applying this to making a career change. And using just this little bit of experience and quite frankly, not being very good at job searching, because at first it was painful. Those first couple of weeks after I realized that, I needed to get over feeling sorry for myself, I slowly started finding what worked. And after just 6 weeks, made a complete 180 career change to human resources management with a company that most people have probably heard of called Target. And I didn't even have the job title experience. I didn't have the resume experience for it. And I even negotiated a $4,000 increase to my salary that very first time. And I thought this was not too bad for a small town kid with very little on my resume and, pretty mediocre grades in school. Right. So there was only one problem here. And that problem was my wife and I decided to have kids. Now, don't get me wrong, the kids weren't so much the problem, and kids are great, but they turn your life upside down. And if anybody here has kids, then you absolutely know exactly what I'm talking about. And so this amazing job with Target now became not so great for me and my rapidly growing family. And I needed something with more routine hours and less stress. And careers are kind of funny like that. What was an amazing dream job for me with Target and was exactly what I wanted, became not so, because dream jobs are somewhat of a moving target, and they change along with every everything else in your life. So I was in this place where I had to do it all over again. And since that point, I've made several other career changes, and I've been able to do a whole bunch of HR, which has allowed me to see all sides of the table in recruiting, hiring, and the job offer processes. And the funny thing about this was it gave me access to all kinds of information and all kinds of experiences that most people don't really have, and they don't really realize how you can go about, getting the job you want and how that actually works. And, eventually my friends and coworkers began offering to take me for lunch, take me for coffee in exchange for advice for their own career changes. And I started thinking I was on to something. And eventually Happened Your Career was born. And this company's allowed me to help hundreds of people on their journey to work that they love. So that's really what we do. And people just like Kevin, Kevin also had to make a job transition, and for different reasons though. And in less than 30 days, he had multiple job offers and found one that was perfectly matched to what he wanted and got an 11% increase while doing it. And Kevin has a family of four kids and his wife and him, and he really didn't have a lot of experience. He'd only made a one other transition in his lifetime. And, there's people like Maggie, and Maggie's situation, she came to us. She really didn't know what she wanted to do, but she was so ridiculously over her job. And, and that's what she told me. And she made a career change from marketing to being a trainer in the learning and development space. And again, having no job title experience, and also got a 12% increase in the process. Now, wow is the word for that, right? Uh, but there's also, there's plenty more people like Andrew. Andrew really liked what he was doing, and he wanted to do it with a premier company, a different company. So he got a job offer at Amazon, and then his original company was fighting to keep him. So he had two great offers on his hands, and I helped him leverage the situation to figure out which one was not only right for him, but also, to figure out which one would allow him to be able to negotiate the right offer too. So he ended up with a 25% increase in salary, and his new company, was bending over backwards to make sure that they could get him on board that entire time, which was pretty cool, right? So here's the problem. All those things sound really, really great, but here's the problem most people face when they go to job search, when they go to find jobs that they really want. These are the problems that they bump up against again and again. And actually there's two problems here. Okay. So, the first of which is when you are wanting to make a job change, and we are wanting to make this career change, and, let's put aside for a moment that it's even to something that you really want to be doing. If you are waiting until a company opens up a position, maybe you've identified a company that you want to work with, but then you're stuck in that problem, waiting until they post something on Indeed.com or CareerBuilder or wherever else, right? That's an issue. And even once that position opens, all of a sudden you're now competing with potentially hundreds of people. In my experience, working in HR, it's someplace between, a minimum of like 35, 40 people, well on up to hundreds and hundreds, depending on the type of position, depending on the location, and all of these other things. Those are two major problems. And quite frankly, it's a bad place to be. And my company's name is not, wait until a company opens a position. It's happened to your career. So all of the things that we're going to talk about today are to help alleviate these particular problems, because these problems don't allow you to be intentional. These problems force you to not own your career. They force you to play the waiting game. And that's not where I want you to be. So before we really dig into it, I need to ask you a couple of questions to figure it out. And I promised you that we were going to focus on how to target companies that you really want. And I'm going to show you some really simple ways to do that. But first, why is it that you want to get a different job? And I want you to think about this. What are those reasons? And for some people, well, I guess first of all, everybody has to figure out this piece first. Everybody has to figure out what it is that they want. But For some people, it might be the schedule. For some people, it might be the family. In my case, it was I wanted to spend more time at home during the times where my family was going to be there. That was something that was really important to me. For other people, it might be career progression. For still other people, it might have nothing to do with all those things and be something that I haven't even said yet. So you've got to understand what it is for you and keep that in mind as we go along, because that's going to play into everything that we talk about. So why it is that you want this different job. So one of the pieces in and I'm going to talk about the three most effective ways today, the three most things that will allow you to streamline your dream job process. But the first of which is figuring out what companies you want to work with, and specifically what type of companies you want to work with. Now, there's numerous different ways to do that. But the funny thing here is that if you don't if you don't identify what companies you want to work with up front, and you don't take a little bit of time to identify the types of companies, then you simply won't be able to target those organizations. I mean, that's just a really simple fact, right? You'll be stuck in that waiting game like we were talking about before. You'll be right back in one of those problems that we talked about. So I again don't want you there. So I want you to take the really, really simple step of figuring out which type of organizations you want to work with, and start to develop some criteria around it. Are you interested in small organizations or large organizations? Geographically, across the US, is it someplace that's overseas? Where on earth do you want to work? Where will you consider working? Where's going to be a good location for you geographically? What's the culture like? And this is something that's critical. I just did an interview on our podcast just the other day with somebody who we'd helped make a transition, guy by the name of Scott McDonald. And he did some pretty amazing things during his job search process. But one of the things that he realized that made more difference than anything else is he identified a company and started working with a company that just had a completely different culture, and one that fit him and what he wanted. Some of these other things do you want to be able to have advancements? What does that even look like for you? And what type of lifestyle do you want to lead? Do you want to be telecommuting, or do you want to be, there in an office? You've got to figure some of these things out. And, if I could go back to this here really quick, and you're looking at all these different companies, I want you to think about just one organization for the purposes of this exercise and this workshop. It'll really help you if you can identify just one organization that you're really interested in working with that meets some of your criteria off the top of your head. Okay, got it in mind? All right, I'm moving on. Hopefully you've got a good one in mind. I for me, way back when I said it was Target was one of those people on my list, but you've got to pick out your own. At the time, it was Target and Nike and Home Depot, and there were a few others on my list. So you've got your own in mind. Let's keep going here. Now, as I mentioned, really briefly before that, figuring out the company specific piece is only one part of figuring out all the different aspects of your career. So what you can do if you want some help, some really specific help, I want to offer you just a resource that'll go with you after we finish talking here. You can actually scroll down all the way to the bottom of the viewing page here, and then you can actually find this little sign me up button, and that'll actually enroll you in our 8-day free introductory course that helps you figure out what you want to do, and it'll guide you through 8 days of emails. So that's a resource that can help you, long after we get done talking here. But and it'll help you with all of those other different pieces too, like financial and everything else. But let's talk about how you, now that you've got your organization in mind, let's talk about how you find the hidden jobs at that organization. Now, this is critical. This is something that is super, super simple. And remember, we already talked about that you can't be working at organizations that you want unless you're targeting those specific organizations. Otherwise, you're just waiting for Indeed to post a job, and that's no good. So let me ask you this question: when a company is hiring somebody new, what type of person are they going to hire? Now think about that for just a second. What type of person are they going to hire? And maybe said a little bit different way here. Let me ask the question a slightly different way. When they're opening a spot, almost every boss thinks, I know who I want in this role. It's, and then they fill in the blank with the name of the person that they want, right? What do we know about the person that fills in that blank? And you're probably thinking it right now. That's right. It's someone they know already. It's somebody that they know, and that's the commonality between between every time that occurs. Now, I've been in hiring manager roles for over 10 years at this point, and this is what happens every time because most hiring managers are not doing this all the time. They're not, their job isn't necessarily hiring people constantly. They usually have another job, and this is just something else that they do in addition. It's an important part, but it's something else that they do, right? So let me ask you another question. If that hiring manager doesn't know you, how on earth could you be the person that they think of when that job opens? And you're right. You can't. You can't be. If they don't know you, they can't put your name in that blank. It's simply not possible. Right. So we're going to talk about how to get your name filled in that blank. Now, this is not so tricky. It's actually really easy, but I want you to start thinking about some of this stuff in a completely different way. So get ready for this because you've just become a marketer, whether you like it or not. At least if you want to get a job, you've that you actually want to be doing, um, or you want to have any kind of choices, then you've become a marketer. So think about it. Almost anything is marketing, and if you really break down what marketing actually is, really think about what that actually is. There's only a couple of pieces to it. And let me give you an example here. Let's use this as an example. Here's how I got you here in the first place. I send out an email and you clicked on that, or a Facebook ad, or a Twitter post, or you heard about us on some other podcasting show, or any number of different things, right? You heard about all these things, and that's technically how you got here. But here's really what happened. I targeted a certain group of people that I wanted to work with that were likely to have a need for what it was that I offered, right? And this target market's made up of people that have a need and want to work with, and that's where this intersects, right? Then I offered something of value. In this case, it was a webinar or 8-day course that I mentioned earlier, and was able to put that out there. So you've got that target market and something of value, and then that's how you got here. And why do I do this? And it's because when you make the decision that you want to skip over all the really hard stuff that most people struggle with in getting their dream jobs, I want you to immediately think of happened to your career. And I want you to, as we said earlier, I want you to put my name in that blank. Okay, so that's just an example though, but here's how that actually applies uh, to job search. I want you to do the exact same thing in your job search, and I want you to do it with what I call PWA marketing, the person with authority to hire marketing, being able to market to them. And really, here's exactly how you can get your name filled in the blank. And by the way, if you do this well enough, they'll actually contact you and plead with you to interview when they actually do have an opening, whether that's a week later or a month later or whatever it is. And I've had that happen numerous times for myself and my clients. So now I'm going to step you through all the specifics because this is extremely powerful. I actually used this to get over 40 interviews and 4 job offers over a 6-month period, and then even another one shortly after that. Now imagine how much easier it is to get your dream job when you've got a whole bunch of great offers to choose from. And lastly, 2 of those offers called me to interview after I had already built a relationship there. So this is, like I said, really, really powerful. So let's talk about what it actually looks like. Okay, so here's what we recommend, and I do this, regardless of whether it's something like this where it's free, or I do this with our, coaching clients at $300 an hour. It's the same exact process because it's extremely, extremely efficient. Um, So you're going to create your list of 15 to 20 companies, and that's where you're going to start. I usually have all of my clients start with 15 to 20 companies, just to be able to get some of those things on the list. You're going to pick one company off the list to start with, and again, you've got your example company in mind here. You're going to find the contact for the PWA, the person with authority to hire you. Now you can do that on LinkedIn. You can do that on Google company websites. It's really not that hard to find contact information. I can typically do that in a matter of minutes. And then you're going to call them and you're going to ask for a 15-minute meeting. Now that's a tricky part. And you might be wondering why that works. I'll explain to you why that works here in just a second. Hold tight. And then you're going to meet with them. And that can be coffee. That can be, informational interview style. It can be at their office. It doesn't really matter where it is so much, as long as you're able to get that meeting, and make that happen. So again, this is with the person who has the authority to hire you or influence hiring you. That's really where it's critical here. So let's talk about how that actually works. So this is your script, and this is you can literally use this, fill it in with your name and everything like that. Hi, I'm Scott, and I'm really interested in your company. I've actually had about 10 years of experience working in HR, and I don't know if you have any openings right now, but would you be willing to meet up with me for 15 minutes sometime so I could find out more about what you're looking for when you do actually go to hire? And that's something that is it sounds really, really simple, but here's why that actually works is because most people that have authority to hire, whether they're a director level or VP level or manager level, many of those folks realize how important talent is to them. And when I say talent, I'm talking about people that they can potentially hire for their organization, because they want to have that person to be able to fill that name in the blank. They don't want to go through 400 resumes. Trust me, nobody wants to, even the recruiters, that's their job. They don't want to go through 400 resumes. That sucks. It's not all that fun. Trust me, I've done it. I don't like doing it. I would much rather have talent scoped out in advance. And most people, whether they will admit it or not, what you're doing is you're really making it convenient for them. That's why it has value. And that's a little bit different way to think about it. And if you've been in a position to hire before, you probably already realize that, and this makes sense to you. So that's it. But here's where this gets really, really powerful. Let's combine this technique with other situations and make it even much more effective. And let me give you a couple of those situations. So do you remember Kevin? Kevin actually did this, and one of the things that he did specifically is he was calling up people that had the ability to hire him, and then he was going and meeting with them. He was actually having people refer him to those people, and then he would call them, and then he would go in and have the interviews. He got several interviews this way, and actually he even got a job offer in the while he was sitting in the parking lot. They were clamoring to try and get him a job offer and get him back in the building. And it was crazy exciting for him, but that was a great experience. And that's something that you can have too. So let's talk about the script there and how that changes when there's actually an opening. And this is when you've realized that, hey, on Indeed.com or on Career Builder or the company website, there's an opening there that you already know about. So it's, hey, I'm Scott. I'm actually really interested in your company. And I've had about 10 years experience working in HR, working in the digital space, working in, all of these other things. You're going to insert what's going to be most valuable to them based on what you know about the job, what you know about the company. And you're going to have to make a judgment call on that. And then you can say, hey, I know you've got an opening, and I'm really curious about what you're looking for in this role. And then you shut up. And then they tell you what they're looking for in that role. If they've got even a few minutes, they'll take advantage of that time. And they'll not only tell you, but they're giving you the cheat sheet to the job if you do end up interviewing with them later. So this is pretty amazing. So if you're interested in it, then you say, hey, look, I've actually got a bunch of the exact experience that you're looking for, and I might be interested in this role. Would you be willing to meet up with me for about 15 minutes or so I could find out a little bit more? And make sure that if you're saying that, you're really actually interested in the role. That's critical. I don't want you in a situation where you're just trying to be able to meet with them at all costs, because it's when you actually get there, it's not going to come off as genuine. And that's a bad place to be. That's a bad place to be operating from. So I don't only want you to do that, and only want you to use the script if it is something you're actually interested in. If not, you can say, hey, you know what? Thanks for your time. Really appreciate it. I'm still interested in your company. This is probably not the right role for me, but let's continue to talk. Would still love to meet up for 15 minutes if you're interested, and we could talk about talk more about your organization, so that when roles do come open in the future that might be a good fit for, we can do that. So again, you know, this is where this stuff gets really, really powerful, because when you actually go in, you're already going to know exactly what they want. And what Kevin did, what I started telling you about, what that Kevin actually did, is he'd have a friend refer people, and what he would do is he would have them create an introduction for him by email. And he'd do all the work for them. He wrote the paragraph of the email. It doesn't take much, just a few sentences, and essentially said that, hey, here's Kevin. I know him and I'm familiar with his work. I think he's somebody that you should talk to about this role coming up. He'll probably give you a call in the next few days. And that's what the email would say. So he would forward that to the person who's going to refer him to the PWA, and then they'd look at it, maybe make a couple of quick changes, and then they would send it off. And then Kevin would follow up in the next couple of days. And guess what magic has just happened there? First of all, now they're expecting you. Yeah, they just had a referral from somebody that they trust. Hopefully they trust this other person and are familiar with them and everything like that. So now, when you call, it's credible, as opposed to just this other person that happens to be randomly calling about the organization, right? Um, and that's, if you do things like this, first of all, you want to make sure that you make the work as easy as possible for anybody who's creating the introduction for you, because it's more likely to happen, first of all. And second of all, that's just a courteous thing to do. And then when you do that, make sure that you actually follow up, because you don't want to burn their reputation, for taking a chance on you. So, and then you follow up, and then you can do the exact same thing. Be able to ask them if you can come in and meet with them for 15 minutes. And here's something about that too. The reason why you're asking for 15 minutes, this is critical. The reason why you're asking for 15 minutes is because 15 minutes is something that almost everybody has. 15 minutes is something that you're not asking for too much. If I ask for a half an hour, if I ask for an hour, it's really easy for me to justify saying no to that. I've got, that's 1/8 of my day or 1/10 of my day if you're asking for me for an hour, and I've got a whole bunch of stuff to do versus taking that extra time to invest in the future. Now think about this though. If you get there and you're being respectful of their time, you hit that 15 minutes and say, hey, I've got more time. I want to be courteous of you. I want to make sure that I'm respecting your time. And they decide that they want to go longer. Well, at that point, it's their prerogative now, right? So if they want to take it to a half an hour, they want to take it to an hour, that's perfectly okay. That's a way to be respectful of them and their time and, their resources and everything else. Well, at the same time, this is pretty likely to happen, because once you get there and they start talking to you and they get interested in you and your interest in the organization and the experience that you do have, then it's probably going to go longer, and that's okay. But make sure that you check in. Okay. So that's why that works. Now let's talk about the unfair advantage you have when negotiating your job offer. And before I get into this, I want to say that most people don't realize that this is all it takes to be able to get job offers. Let's go over the process really, really quick. People think that you have to, apply online, and then they think that you have to go through all of these different things. But really all it takes is just 3 steps. It takes being able to contact somebody and either establish a relationship or continue or further a relationship, but making that initial contact, and then doing an interview. You have to have an interview of some sort. And it may not even be a formal interview sometimes. And I've had people get hired just off of that initial meeting, or a couple of informal meetings after that. Um, or, maybe they turn around and go through into a formal interview process. Either way, you don't get a job offer without doing an actual in-person meeting that's going to constitute as an interview, right? So that's step two. And then they decide they want you. And then voila, you've got a job offer. Sometimes you have to do all those other things. Sometimes you're going to have to, apply. But I'd rather have you apply after they've told you that they already want you to be there. And you've got that hiring manager running down to the recruiter's office to say, hey, look, I need to get this guy's resume. I really want this guy in my organization, or this gal in my organization. Help me find their resume. And then they realize that you haven't applied yet. And then they call you up and say, hey, as a courtesy, can you go ahead and apply? And I've been in that situation. I've actually myself filled out the application as a formality after I had already accepted the job offer, and had clients that have done that too. So, that's the position that I want you to be in. And that's a completely different position than most anybody else, because they don't realize it's just 3 steps. Everything else is it's noise, I guess, is the easiest way to say it. And people don't realize that most organizations, if you talk to the people with the authority to hire you, you don't always have to go through all those other steps and hoops and everything else. So, and again, done this numerous times throughout my career, and help plenty of people do this exact same thing. So, you already have the advantage when you've gotten this job offer. So, first of all, let's just acknowledge the fact that if they already like you, you already have a relationship. You don't even have to interview that well. I want you to interview really well. We've got courses that help people knock it out of the park in an interview. Specifically, we've got one called Interview University that's in our membership site, the Work You Love One Stop. And I want you to interview well, but you don't even have to if you've got that relationship. Or let's say that you're trying to make a career change and you don't even have all of the experience that maybe they want that's posted, that are really guidelines in their job posting. Then that's okay. That's okay. It's much more likely that you're going to get a job offer because you've already got that relationship established in some form, versus somebody who walks in there meeting them for the first time and then having to sit down with that one person or a panel. You've got the advantage, right? And then once you get this job offer, you already have the advantage in negotiating it. And this is what most people don't realize. They actually just spent a long period of time, weeks, sometimes months, and then they ended up choosing you. So you've got this job offer in hand, and it may have taken a period of time to be able to get there. They don't want to go through that again. In most companies, the reality is that they don't replace or create positions until there's already a need. That means there's already a hardship for them. Yeah, they're already having a challenge. They don't want to go through this again. They don't want to spend weeks and months to do this process all over again. So, you've got the advantage. And it costs less for most organizations to negotiate, throw some extra money. And it's still a great thing for them, rather than to go look for a new person, because again, they've already chosen you. And hiring managers get really vested in the process. They've picked you. There's a whole bunch of emotional quotient type stuff that goes into that. And most people don't realize too, that usually when people come to you with a job offer, there's already wiggle room built into the offer. Sometimes between 5 and 15% is where I've most often seen it happen. So that's critical that you understand that before we talk about how to make this happen. So you've already got this job offer in hand. Now, here's exactly what you can do. They call you up and they say, hey, we would love to offer you the job. We would love to offer you $94,000. And, we're super excited to have you on board. Here's what you do. Thank them profusely first. Make sure that they understand that you're really excited about it. This is assuming, of course, that you are excited about it, that this is a job that you actually want. Again, you have to be genuine. You can't lie to them. This has to be a job that's a good thing for you. So, tell them you're excited about it, because nobody wants to go to bat for somebody who's not excited about the job. And that's what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to go back and probably talk to other people, and probably get several other people, maybe HR involved, and all these other people, and they're going to have to be able to go up to it for you. So, you're not excited, that's not happening. Ask them if you can get back to them with an answer in the next couple of days, and agree on when. It's really important that you agree on when. That way you don't have different expectations than what they do about when you're going to get an answer back as far as yes or no. But this is also really important because this allows them to go back and start talking about how much they will accept. And that's, again, a critical step. Seems like a small thing, but it's really, really important. They go back, they have all those conversations behind the scenes. It gives them a day or two to be able to do that. If it's a recruiter that you're talking to, then they're conversing with the hiring manager, and all of these different conversations happen behind the scenes because they want you. Now, decide how much you're going to counter. And again, there's typically between 5 to 15% buffer room. That's not exclusively true. Sometimes it's much, 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 much more. Sometimes it's less. But generally, for what I've seen, working in HR a long time and working with people and helping them get job offers, that's generally a good rule of thumb. You also want to decide, and you can get as creative as this as you want as possible. Your only limit is creativity here. But are you going to ask for anything else, or are you going to have it in your back pocket if they come back with an additional counter offer? And that can be like more vacation, that could be technology, that could be a car, that can be all kinds of other different perks. There's lots and lots and lots of different opportunities, and depending on the organization, sometimes it's easy for them to be able to do these things. Like it's been really easy for me to be able to ask for additional vacation and flex time and telecommuting and all kinds of things like this that were really valuable to me, not that big of a deal for some of the organizations I've worked with in the past. So then you're going to, during that time, make sure that you've got how much you're going to ask for. Call them back up. Again, reinforce how excited you are. Let them know that what you're really looking for is $104,000 or whatever that amount is, whatever you've decided that amount is, that is worth it to you and that you're feeling really, really good about, and what you feel that you deserve based on, what you're looking for. And then all you're going to do is you're going to ask, what can we do to make that happen? That's it. That really simple question. This works over and over and over again. In fact, I literally have 100% track record with the people that I've gotten on the phone with and help coach to do this. And I just got an email just the other day. Again, somebody got an extra $2,000. This was 2 days ago. Yeah, 2 days ago, I think, where somebody emailed me and said, "Hey, Scott, here's how it ended up. I got an additional $2,000 just because I asked." And that's the smallest amount that I've ever helped somebody get, is right around $2,000. And I've easily helped people get 8, 9, 10, 12 grand extra, even as much as $25,000, $30,000 extra. So this is something that that can be done in any situation, whether it's salaried or hourly. Sometimes some companies have more restrictions, and you might lean towards more more the intangible type things. But again, every single time, this is something that works really, really well. And let's say, just for the sake of conversation, they say no. They say, "No, we can't do that." Well, here's what you can do then. Instead, you can ask them and say, "Hey, look, I'm really interested in the organization. I'm willing to come on board as long as 90 days into the position, we can reevaluate. And if I'm right on track or exceeding and blowing out of the water what you guys expect of me, then then we can reassess and increase my salary at that time." Get that in writing. If they agree to that, get that in writing. That's a really important part. Make sure that you get it in writing. And that becomes really, really easy anchor point for you to come back and say, "Okay, let's take a look. Here's what I want to do," and do that ahead of what a normal schedule would be. And again and again too, be able to get the raises even after they already negotiated what their job offer was. So all this stuff, really, really, really cool. But I want to review for you really quick, because I just went through a whole bunch of stuff, and I want to make sure that it all soaks in, because I want you to be able to use this stuff. I want you to be able to actually use it. So, first things first, you got to figure out why you want to change in the first place, because that's going to be a driving factor for you, and that's going to help provide you a measuring stick, as you go along here. And you've also got to figure out the types of companies that you want to work with, and you've got to make that list. That's your action there. Make that list of at least 15 to 20 companies to contact, find their information for the PWAs, those people with authority to hire, on LinkedIn, on the company website, on Google, wherever you can find it. And then you can then contact those individuals at each company. And this works so well. Scott McDonald, who I was mentioning earlier, this is exactly what he did. And he ended up getting a job offer that was the perfect job for him. And not only was he excited about that, obviously, but also he ended up doing it for more money. And that's why he had stayed at his other job as long as he had, because he was thinking, well, I'm not going to be able to make the same amount of money elsewhere, even though he's working a ton of hours. And even though he was really not liking the job anymore, and they'd gone through a restructure and so on and so forth. So, contact that person with the authority to hire you at each one of those companies. Talk to them, ask for that 15-minute meeting. If you can't get it in person, get it on the phone, but be able to talk to them, start building a relationship. Trust me, this is going to stand out, because very few people are actually doing this. And then, once you actually get that job offer, so you go through the interview process, or maybe you go to a couple of informal meetings and they end up making you a job offer. They're really excited about you. Don't accept it right away. Let them know you're excited. Ask for a couple of days, and then call them back after you decide what your counter offer is. The other reason that you do that, the other reason why you call them back, is you don't want the emotion to get the best of you during that process, during that time frame. So that's really, really important. So let me ask you a question. All of that's really great and everything, but do you want to be able to do that faster and even better, and even understanding all of the intricate pieces? Because I can actually help you do that. With our 6 weeks to dream job online class that we have coming up. Let me tell you about that, though. Here's what you're going to get in that class in week 1. And it's an online, like I said, it's an online class, and you attend every single week, and we guide you step by step. That first week, we help you figure out exactly what it is that you want, because most people that we work with, quite frankly, they either don't know exactly what it is. Some people don't even know exactly where to start. But we help you pare it down, get exact clarity. That way you have that measuring stick as you go along. And that's really, really important. So we help you no matter where you're at. And then, we really focus on helping you get the right routines. And this is critical. We want you to learn exactly what you need to do and where to spend your time, so that you're making a career change efficiently. And that's the important part there. We want you to be able to do it efficiently. And then week 3, we actually go through everything you're going to need to know, so that you can stop waiting on others, just like we talked about today, but even more in depth, how you can apply basically everything that I know, so that you don't have to wait, and you can take control of your career and get more interviews. Because if you get more interviews, you get more job offers, and then you have choices, and choices are a great place to be. Most people don't have choices. Most people are not getting multiple job offers. So then week 4, we give you the normal person's guide to networking. We meet you where you're at. And most people don't like the word networking. Most people don't like networking in general. So we want you to be able to leverage the relationships you already have to be able to get the dream job, and not go through all the awkwardness of like networking events and all kinds of other stuff. And we take you step by step how to do all that. And you'd be surprised about how many people you already know can help you get your dream job, and they don't even know it, and you don't even know it. And then week 5, it's really about blowing the competition away with your interviews. We want you to be able to, just like I was talking about with Kevin, be able to just have people clamoring over each other to be able to get a job offer written up, so that they can talk to you. So that way you don't go and walk down the street and go someplace else. That's exactly where we want you to be. And then once you get that job offer, I told you some of the steps here, and I told you the best and most efficient path, but we want you to know everything so that you can negotiate like a pro. And I'll even show you how you can make an extra $1 million over the course of your lifetime just by asking and just by using this stuff. $1 million. I'm not even joking. And in the last year, last 7 years, I personally have made over $300,000 more by using this exact same stuff. $300,000. That's a no small chunk of change. So, you know, this is something else you're going to get too. Along with this, you get access to our Work You Love One Stop, and you get a membership to that where you can ask experts. You've got the help you need for anything that you can possibly think of, so that you can get multiple job offers, so you can actually do the work that you want that fits you. And then after you actually get your job offer, I want to make sure, and maybe this is a little bit selfish, but I want to maintain my 100% track record. I want to be able to get you more money than what they're offering. So I'll get on the phone with you for 15 minutes. We'll talk about your specific situation. I'll give you step-by-step coaching on how to get a job offer that you actually deserve. That way you don't go through it alone, because this is one of the emotional parts of the process, and people get really caught up here. And then all of a sudden they're not in a place where they want to negotiate anymore, and they feel like it's a hard thing to do, to be able to ask. So I help you do that in the exact right way. Now, let me review. Let's recap really quick. Those 6 live sessions are every Monday beginning January 5th. So coming up in the new year, which is the perfect time to be able to start approaching this dream job process. And they'll also be recorded for you to watch as you want. And normally, if you were to do this via coaching, this would cost you about $1,400 to $1,800, depending on the coaching package. So that's pretty expensive outright if doing it one-on-one. And the Work You Love One Shop membership, that actually costs people $600 a year. That's $49 a month. That costs people $600 a year. And then that negotiation call ends up being worth, I told you earlier, a minimum of $2,000 once I help you actually get that job offer. And can be well up over $25,000. Completely depends on you, completely depends on the job, completely depends on what you're interested in, and how much you're willing to ask for, and how much you want, and how much you feel like you deserve. But I'll help you with that either way. On a bottom side of $2,000, that's still pretty darn good, and a pretty high value package. And what that actually means, and I know that you're wondering, just how much is this already? Here's first. That actually totals out to $4,400 on the low end. But for the entire 6 weeks, it's just $495. Or here's an even potentially better deal, depending on what you want. So $495 is what we're charging for it. And with that, you get a lifetime subscription to the Work You Love One Stop membership, private members, and Facebook group that goes along with that. But if you want to, you can actually just try it for $1 for 30 days. And if you love it and you want to stay around, then you can just pay the $49 a month. So if you join the Work You Love One Stop right now for $1, we'll throw in 6 weeks to your Dream Job Mastery course for free for as long as you stay. Or if you don't want to stay around, that's perfectly fine. Then you can just cancel at any point in time. But that's how you can do it. Now, a couple of things that I'll tell you about that. First of all, go now. Click on the yellow button right below this workshop viewing center here, or you can go to happentoyourcareer.com/dreamjob and be able to view everything right there. Now, the one-stop offer, that try it for $1 offer, ends actually tonight. So that's really important. That's really critical. Get over there, be able to take advantage of either one of those. Both of those are a good deal. And I'll tell you just a couple other things here too. Why are we doing this? I guess is the first question. I'm not gonna get rich off $1 at a time. So why on earth am I doing this? Well, quite frankly, because we want to get some people into the course. We've already got the course about halfway filled up, and we want to be able to get some other people into the course, expose them to the Work You Love One Stop, have them be able to take advantage of that group and that information. And then at the same time, because we also want to be able to, since this is the first time we're running 6 weeks to Dream Job, we want to have some amazing testimonials. That way we can turn it around and raise the price on it and be able to resell it again later on down the line. So again, go there, take a look now, and quite frankly, if it's not for you, I will insist that you don't pay anything for it. So if you opt for the $4.95 that way, then we'll actually go ahead and return your money if it's not what you want. You don't like the sound of my voice, or you don't like the color that I choose for fonts, or or that my team chooses for fonts, or whatever it might be. We'll go ahead and we'll turn that around for you. If you choose the $1 trial option, and then if you like it, you stay on for each month after that for $49. If at any point in time you decide it's not for you, then you just go ahead and stop. But what this is going to allow you to do is it's going to allow you to move in the most efficient way. My goal is to, in a 6-week time period, be able to get you everything you're going to need for the rest of your life to be able to make career transitions to what it is that you really actually want to be doing. And again, just like we talked about, that changes for people as your life changes and as you go along there. So I want to be able to to steal the proverb, I want to be able to teach you to fish. I want to be able to teach you to actually go get what you need and what you want and happen to your career, as opposed to waiting. So here's what I would say. If you have questions on this, you're more than welcome to email me. You can email me at scott@happentoyourcareer.com, and I'll be thrilled to pieces to answer questions. I'll actually be around as soon as we get off here. And that way, if there's anything that you need to know, then I can go ahead and share that with you for about the next hour or so here. And then I would say, what do you have to lose? Try it for $1. Sign up. If you don't like it, don't continue to pay us money. And again, I'll insist that you get out. But the upside is just absolutely huge for you to be able to make these types of transitions in this short amount of time. Kevin made it less than 30 days. Scott McDonald, who I mentioned earlier, his was a really short time period too. And he went through numerous interviews with all kinds of different schedules, but still was a very, very short time period. Andrew, who I mentioned earlier, still, his was a very short too. Ken, who I haven't talked about yet, just another great example. Ken made a transition in less than 30 days too, and got over a 30% increase. And that was again very, very short. So people think that it's going to take months and months and months. In fact, I saw just the other day, a article on LinkedIn that was talking about how after it was talking about the right things to say during the interview, blah blah blah. But it was talking about how after you're in a place where you've been job searching for months, somebody finally gives you an interview. Well, I don't want you to be in that place. I want you to be able to go out and make your own interviews. And that's what this all is all about. So I really very much appreciate you spending your time here with me. I very much hope that you got some stuff that you can apply right now, tomorrow. And I also very much hope to see, if it's the right thing for you, see you in the one stop and see you in the course coming up here. And we'll help get you to work that you love and to your dream job very efficiently. Thanks so much. Drop me an email if you need anything else. Appreciate it. Have a great night. Go out and happen to your career.